David Bowie, you sure can rock a dress. Hey, David Bowie, I couldn't think any less.
Hey, David Bowie, I liked you in the game. Hey, David Bowie, all the characters are the same.
Hey, David Bowie, you're the mighty Goblin King.
Hey, David Bowie, if that really is a thing. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah, I just wanna be with you. It's not, no, that came out wrong. I'm just a normal guy. I'm just a normal guy.
Chris, I'm not sure where you're going with this, but I think I'm gonna go and write my own song, okay?
Alright.
Alright, I'll see ya.
Alright, bye. Hey, David Bowie, maybe we could grab a drink. Hey, David Bowie, I'm really not what you think. Hey, David Bowie, you seem like a really cool dude. Hey, David Bowie, I'm not trying to be rude. Hey, David Bowie, I can see your dick.
Want to ring the bell?
I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm a loner, Daddy. Rebel.
I am the walrus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to John Hates Movies, the movie review podcast, where my friends keep me from wangity wang, and instead force me to watch movies.
Oh no.
As you can tell, this episode is going to contain a lot of Wang.
John hates wieners.
I'm your host, John Barrup. Today we have Eric Largent.
Tally-ho.
We have Colin McMillan.
Go back to your room, John. Play with your toys. Forget about the baby.
We have Chris Arsenault.
This movie, like many other movies after it, proved the point that talking hats are assholes.
We have James Barrup.
Am I the only one that was kind of taken aback by a fox saying tally-ho?
Oh.
Yeah, I noticed
Wow,
that too.
that's grim.
Stole my shit.
Oh, shit, sorry.
And
already snapping jokes!
And we have with us Todd Meder.
Wild and crazy, really lazy, high rolling, funky strolling, ball playing, hip swaying, trouble making, booty shaking, dribbling, passing, jumping, bouncing, driving, styling, creeping, pouncing, shouting, screaming, double dealing, rock and rolling, into reeling with our nasty sex appealing. Can you dig our groovy feeling?
Yay!
Go home, Pookie, you're drunk.
Chill it down with the fire gang.
Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to
Oh,
get
that was amazing. I looked up the lyrics to that song this morning because I wanted to talk about that scene.
I ain't got no
I love that
Oh,
song.
it's so
way more than I
so
should.
Good.
The album version is much better than the movie version.
I actually heard that for the first time this morning, and it's a really fun song. Like, it's really cool.
The movie version sounds kind of a mess, actually.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, the recording on the movie version is not very
I had a lot of trouble
good.
trying to figure out what the fuck they were saying.
They were saying...
I think also Bowie doesn't sing on the movie version, and he
super
totally sings on the album
excited to be
version.
So for those of you who are curious what we're talking about, we watched Labyrinth.
Zip it down, zip it down.
Labyrinth is a film that was released in 1986.
Was it?
What?
Quiet you.
James
is trying to talk with a mouthful.
Were you surprised we were recording?
Where am I?
We were like...
Yes, it's very released in 1980.
Very, very much so.
The description is, in Jim Henson's fantasy, teen Sarah embarks on
Wow.
Sorry.
Do it. Save it.
So this is all put on Jim
Save
Henson.
In Jim Henson's fantasy, teen Sarah embarks on a life-altering quest to rescue her little brother from the clutches of a treacherous goblin. It is starring David Bowie, Jennifer Connelly,
Yay.
Frank Oz,
Yeah.
and directed by Jim Henson.
Yay.
Yay. Also, George Lucas had a hand in it.
Yes,
That's
he,
true. He pays
produced
for
it.
it.
Yep. He gave it.
Terry Jones
Yeah,
wrote
there's a lot of names on this, actually. Like, this movie was kind of a big deal.
Most movies do have a lot of names.
Yeah, I noticed the prevalence of names in the credits of this movie. But I was like, Terry,
They credited people for basically every
wow,
task.
that's so... we should do that with more industries.
Congratulations. John Barab showed up for work today.
Congratulations. Congratulations on doing your job.
That is true. What other job, every time you finish a project, do you get that huge pat on the back where everyone gets to see you?
No other
I-
job,
I,
Chris.
Acknowledge
I
that.
actually,
When you're
I actually
publishing,
got that preemptively
wow.
today. My boss is going on vacation, and he sent out a text message, and he said, all I ask is that everybody show up for work next week. That's all he's asking.
Hey.
Wow.
And I'm like, I can do that.
When you
That's-
publish like a
that's pretty
scholarly
easy.
journal, when you finish your,
Yeah, I was going to do that anyway.
Setting the bar pretty low,
finish
boss.
like a math paper.
Right. Wow. Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think any of us are going to be finishing any math papers anytime soon. So, with that being said,
Speak for yourself.
who wants to start us off? I know we all have feels about this movie.
I'll start us off if I can go to the bucket and steal one of our well-worn techniques. And by our techniques, I really mean one of Eric's techniques, where you're critiquing, you're making terrible notes throughout the movie.
Absolutely.
Hey, whoa.
Okay.
1 in 10 of his notes are not terrible.
Well, no, I'm implying that mine are.
Okay.
That was nothing against Eric. I will attempt this, and if I fall short, it's just more to say that it should not have been attempted by anyone other than Eric. Okay, let's start. Jennifer Connelly. Oh my God, shudders of pleasure.
But she's little in this.
And then I realized she's 16.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a baby.
Yeah. And an infant.
Is she actually 16? She was
She was
playing
16.
14,
She was born 70.
I thought she was playing 16.
No, I thought
Whatever,
she was
she's
playing
like
14.
15, 16 is what I assumed she was playing too. But anyway. All right, and an infant. Someone had a whoops baby. Wow, she talks a lot to herself. She's so full of hate, also super melodramatic.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm a pirate, because she puts on that stupid little hat.
Puts a sock on her head.
Why can't kids just drink away her problem like most kids? To be fair, for a magical dude showing up in her home after just kidnapping her infant brother, she is quite respectful and being very amicable. The girl is right, pretty weak-ass Labyrinth. Looks more like a caterpillar. Also, sweet hipster scarf bro. There are a bunch of openings, but you probably can't see them. The worm.
Hipster
He's
worm.
like, you're a worm. I am a worm. There's no openings. They're everywhere. He's like, you can't see them. Like hipster dick. And he was a caterpillar. He had fucking, hair and shit.
I knew about that
Who, him?
before. It was
Nah,
cool.
just a
Right,
worm.
yeah. And
No,
then,
he's just a worm.
and then, fucking singing.
Yes.
And then,
There was-
awkward David Bowie hip thrust. Because, the one guy's, grabbing his leg, and he doesn't, kick him away. He hip thrusts him away.
Yeah.
It's really
well, all of
odd.
David Bowie's power is in his
And
hips.
David Bowie hip thrusts are never awkward.
Magical. I do miss Jim Henson, puppet characters, but for fuck's sake, it's also really, really shitty. And it was one of those things, you realize it is amazing, especially with puppets, but at the same time, that was so much better when you were a kid, and could appreciate that like it's magic.
Okay, what I'm gonna jump in for a second.
go ahead.
What Jim Henson is doing in this movie is the top end of what you can do with puppetry.
Exactly.
Now, what like Skrillex is doing with dubstep is like the top end of what you can do with dubstep. But they're both shitty mediums.
Well played. And with that, them's my jewels. To my earlier point, talking hats, kinda assholes.
Yep.
Because he kept on, like, harassing the dude. He's like, I love being your hat. And he's trying to sleep.
Are you sure you don't want to be a Slytherin? You can speak parcel tongue.
Right, exactly. You can go a long way.
It's so stimulating being your hat.
The hell are those red devil creatures singing about? Fuck singing. Didymus. Best ever. He is seriously my favorite character in the whole movie.
Didymus is awesome.
Was he the rat
Yes.
fox
Yes,
that said tally ho?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
he was they copied him for Puss in Boots in Shrek.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
So did Ludo invent the pet rock? Wait, no, that was before it. But still, man's best friend. Then I discovered that this movie is sexist. The main character is a girl, and she's strong, but she can't get anything done without all of these male characters.
I'm gonna get back to you on that.
And then,
Yeah.
and then we discovered
For
that
sure,
David
somebody.
Bowie can sing with his mind.
Yeah.
And then after that, apparently all I managed to write down after that was, God damn it.
Actually, David Bowie can sing with my mind. And I've known that for at least 30
He's been
years.
singing in my mind for many years as well.
So Chris, I
From
thought
space.
that I was maybe gonna do some notes this week, but I wrote down like one note and then just like kind of curled up.
Was it kind of, God damn it, and then like gave up?
Yeah,
Because
yes.
like that's, I mean, here's the thing. This movie, I can understand why people like it. I can probably understand more so why teenage girls of the 1980s would like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's less so evident why,
Teenage boys in the
Right.
1980s would like it.
Why 30-something men in the 2010s would look back on this fondly?
well, they're young at the
Wait,
time,
can
so
I
I
pose
assume
a
it's like
question, though?
the
Can I pose a
goggles and
question
what-
to you that might clear that up?
I don't want clarity. I just want harassment. Not from.
All right, I'll harass
not
you
from
with a
you, but I just want to deliver harassment. I apologize for the needing to correct that, but that's the case. No.
right.
What's your question?
Do either of you remember the day Jim Henson died?
I do.
No.
No.
Well, there you
no,
go.
I don't think so.
I mean, I remember
Pray
hearing
continue.
the news, but I don't remember the day.
I
mean,
I
do
heard.
So are we like it's
very
so we
frequently.
So is that like the day of 9/11? Like that's something that
That's
day
the
will live
divide.
in infamy?
No, yes, because for my generation, really anyone born before 1984, I think, Jim Henson is a major father figure, and his death is one of the defining moments, the defining tragedies of
Absolutely.
our generation.
Well,
It's
here's
like that,
the thing. I grew up
that
watching
and the
the
Challenger
Muppets.
explosion. I kid you
Yeah,
not.
okay, no, I can see that
I
one.
concur.
I grew up watching the Muppets, and I love the Muppets. I love Jim Henson's work. I adore the man's, work and whatnot. Honestly, I don't recall when he died. I don't recall the news. I don't really remember hearing when it happened. And I gotta say, though, I wouldn't say it's that pre-84 it hits people differently. I think you just attach a lot to Jim Henson, which I'm not
Yes,
faulting you
that's
for
true.
at all.
But
I'm
I
not
don't
trying to attack
think-
you there. I want to clarify that. I'm not attacking you
I
there.
don't think that's
But,
unique to
No,
me, though.
it's
I
not.
think that's probably a quality of my entire generation.
I doubt
At least the
that.
majority of people in my generation. Jim Henson died very suddenly and unexpectedly, May 16th, 1990, in the wee hours of my wife's 12th birthday.
Wow, that's a young lady.
Thanks
So
a lot,
to say
Destiny.
that some of us in our generation are scarred by that experience is an understatement.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to that later. I'm sure I won't be the only one.
Well, getting back to me.
Sorry. I'm sorry, but I had to
no,
interject that there.
I can't.
I find this whole line like baffling.
Well, I can understand that. Yes, an idol figure dying has an effect on you, and I can understand. I get that totally. I don't know. I remember seeing this movie when I was a little kid. I've seen it a number of times since. I'm not saying it's a terrible movie. I think it's definitely a kid's movie. At the same time, I love Dark Crystal, but I admit, it's not a movie I watch now because it sets no flavor to me now.
Don't watch Dark Crystal now.
Yeah.
I
Come on, Dark
growing
Crystal's
up
not
with
bad.
all the Disney stuff, one of my favorite Disney movies growing up, honestly, probably is between Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King, quite honestly. Because those are, I don't know, the Gaston song for one. But,
Well, yeah. I mean,
but it's at the same time, I don't revisit them and, with any semblance of, this is an amazing movie. You have to love this movie. This movie is the kind of thing that God would watch on his day off. I'm not going to give it any more credence than the fact that it's an animated movie with singing, and in that genre of an animated kids-oriented movie, it's not bad. It's not a good movie.
what? Beauty and the Beast?
It really is.
No, I mean Labyrinth.
Say, that wolf fight scene's fucking sweet.
That is cool. But my point is, it's not going to stand out, above. If someone today, never having known about the Labyrinth prior, having no nostalgia goggles, sits down and watches the movie,
Hey, hi.
this may turn into a good segue for Eric. They're going to have a very differing opinion than you, who is now going to glorify all that is Henson.
You're right.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to call it the epitome of a good movie when, frankly, it's not. There are so many problems with this movie, and I gotta say, so many of them are the forced songs into it, and frankly, David Bowie entirely in this. I mean, he could have been played by anyone else, cut the music, and it probably would have played out just as well, because frankly, there's nothing tying anyone or anything into this movie that can't be changed over, swapped, whatever. It's, like I said, it's a very
The story
Blase-
is very generic.
super generic. One of the only things that ever really, really excited me about the movie was nearing the end. What is that called? The Escher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the
MC
Escher-
the
Escher
Escher
staircase.
room.
Escher room.
That was super cool. I love it.
But
That
that's
effect
a
was fun.
set that they actually built,
Right,
you know?
yeah, right, because they had to back in the day.
All
And
the effects
that
are
was
practical.
very impressive, yeah. And that is one respect I will give to it. It has practical effects, but at the same time, it's not like it's doing a lot of practical effects. Because, not super special stuff. You have puppets with sticks with bitey things that just kind of smack into each other, then they react, and okay, that's fine.
they
I'm
weren't all
not
practical
trying to
effects.
take away from any of that, but
No, they weren't.
it's not any
actually, you're
better
right.
than the kind of effect, or it's a film that doesn't really need to persuade any audience above the age of 5 that it's a good movie.
Chris, are you saying you thought Bowie's performance was a little stiff?
I would more say that he was a little limp.
Oh,
I'd say it was. I'd call him wooden.
I'd say it was penis. All right, so
Maybe he was just dicking around. I don't know.
oh,
He could be phoning it in.
What?
Oh, wait.
What?
John does not understand what we're doing.
I'm a junkie jammer.
I want to play too.
Ah, the French.
I'm a wizard.
Colin.
Those are all my favorite John lines.
All right.
Oh, I miss you, glorious asshole.
Oh man. Okay, so I do love Labyrinth, and I still love it, and I watched it 3 days ago, and I still love it. I will be happy to tell you why. Touching on what Todd said, really, Henson's death is a heartbreak for me personally, because he was one of my real heroes in my childhood. I was 11 when he passed away, and no, I hadn't yet turned 11 actually, but I knew what a huge loss it was at the age of 10. I knew that the world was supposed to be a certain way going forward, and now it wasn't going to be that way. Jim Henson wanted to create a world in cinema where people and fantastical creatures would be side by side and doing things together in a very practical way, like practical effects kind of way. You know, creatures and humans could touch each other and interact in a way that was real to the audience. Now,
Oh, Chris's mind just went dirty on that one.
We all heard it happen.
I picked that up.
Phrasing, Colin, phrasing.
So, all right, okay, yeah, whatever. But, I mean, like, he had this crazy vision that started back when he created Rolf the dog and was doing, like, you know, shtick on variety shows. It segued into the Muppets, and you could see what he was trying to do when he made Fraggle Rock, which is all about, the point of Fraggle Rock is racial harmony. And then he makes...
You read way too far into Fraggle Rock.
No, that was the point.
No, you didn't.
That was actually the point of Fraggle Rock, because the Fraggles and the Doozers and the Gorgs, they all kind of don't get along, but they all share a common resource that they all need, and that's radishes. The Doozers use it to build, the Fraggles eat what the Doozers build, and the Gorgs grow the radishes and eat them. So
Right. They're in
a closed system. They have to find a way to coexist.
Just like if they were on Snowpiercer
Well, yeah.
So Fraggle Rock is Snowpiercer.
for kids.
Well, yeah, so...
Eating babies.
Jim Henson's shit always
Absolutely.
had a message. He just didn't. It just didn't get preachy. He never beat
And
you over
that's
the head.
the thing.
with it.
Great
He made
dudes
it
are uprising.
entertaining. It was part
There's
of
a
the
big
fun.
thing in Labyrinth on that in that regard, which is exactly how Henson slides things into his projects without shoving it down your throat. Shut up!
God almighty.
You did that
Colin.
on purpose. Come on.
That wasn't one of us.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
That was me.
Hey, Gobo.
Come on, that
I've
was
got an
intentional.
idea. What if we just eat the doozers?
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. That's a pretty.
Down on Fraggle Rock.
Okay, so
Red, are you eating a doozer right now?
you guys do pretty legit Fraggle impressions. I had never.
Yeah,
I'd
you
never even
do.
considered doing Fraggle impressions.
Oh,
I found
had
a
another
doozer in my laundry and I hadn't eaten all day, so I just took a bite.
Hey, Gobo!
Okay, so besides Fraggles eating
It was already
doozers,
cooked from coming out the dryer.
oh no. Okay, so here's what happened. Jim Henson was building towards this crazy stuff that was like humanitarian, and it was going to change the world, and you could see it happening and everything that he was doing. And then he fucking died. And then what happened is Muppets went back on the shelf. Like, suddenly, you don't have movies like Labyrinth or Dark Crystal anymore. Now, puppetry is just relegated to stupid kid shows that are there to make a buck. And you never saw anything like this really happen from then on. Like, the Henson Company hung in there for a little while, but none of their projects were the same. This progression that had happened all through the late 70s to mid-80s stopped. Like, full stop, dead halt. It was done. So, when you say what you see in Labyrinth is the height of puppetry, that's only because when Henson died, puppetry stopped progressing. But in his lifetime, it had progressed so much. Who knows what he had been able to do, what he would have been able to do if he lived another 10 years, like, and got the Jurassic Park technology under his belt to enhance his creature effects or whatever. Like, the age of CG would have been absolutely changed by Henson. Like, 1,000%.
Jim was doing something that nobody else would have had the guts to do before we had CGI. Now that we have CGI, people are spoiled and they put whatever they can imagine on the screen. Back in the day, you sat down and you thought about how you were going to make things work. That's not how Jim approached anything. Like with this one, he took Brian Froud's drawings. He said, Brian Froud, I want you to just draw me a bunch of crazy shit. And Brian Froud just drew a bunch of crazy shit. And then Jim dropped it on his workshop and he said, we have a year and a half to put this movie together. We need to figure out how we're going to make this work. And that was one thing about
Labyrinth that I will always respect is this was an incredibly difficult movie to make. And the fire gang scene particularly, there's a reason it's a mess because it was practically impossible to do. Kevin Clash was in charge of that. He is also known as Elmo. And he went to Jim Henson when he was working on that scene and he literally goes to him and went, I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't think that we can do this thing where they are taking off their body parts and eating them and like all this stuff. And Henson was basically like, you will make it work. And They did. And so, yeah, the fire gang scene is a little bit of a mess, but what that represents is so much ridiculous, crazy hard work with a scene that was essentially uncreatable, and they managed to put it to film.
Right. So what's going on in that scene is each member of the fire gang has 2 to 3 puppeteers working it. And they're all blindfolded because they're wearing this black velvet, so they
Holy
can't
shit.
see shit.
So, yeah, they did that scene blind.
And deaf too, apparently.
Finally, some levity.
Well, yeah, sorry, I'm like fucking real talking serious shit about Labyrinth, and it's not going to get any lighter.
You're having a love fest.
I
There's nothing wrong with that.
love this movie.
we all get
I
a turn.
really
Yep.
do. Like, I absolutely love this movie, and kind of in spite of myself, I really expected when I revisited this movie in my early 30s, that I would be like, well, this can't possibly stand up. But for me, it really does. And there's something that I noticed in the content of Labyrinth, in the story, that changes the entire way you view this whole movie. And it's that Henson subtlety at work. Nobody knows what the fuck this movie is about. This is a movie about grieving.
Huh?
It is.
Go on.
Oh, I will. There are several shots in the beginning of the movie where you get a look at Sarah's life, and she's got this room full of toys, and she lives in this nice house with her mean stepmother and her dad who kind of doesn't care, and her baby brother who cries all the time. But there's a really key element to this movie in her room that nobody ever notices, and it tells you everything you need to know about the character of Sarah.
I know what it is. I caught it this time for the first time.
Everything that goes on in this movie is focused around this one thing. There is a scrapbook in Sarah's room. And it is entirely dedicated. It is a shrine to her mother. And her mom was an actor.
There are pictures of her mom in the scrapbook
All over.
with David Bowie.
Yes. Wow.
Well,
actually, I
actually,
didn't even catch that. But
Yeah, there totally are.
But there are
Everything
playbills.
that happens
There are
in this movie
programs.
is
Didn't notice the
based
David
on
Bowie
something
stuff,
in
but-
her bedroom.
I
Well,
thought
that
that was
is true.
the giveaway, really, that she's upset about the way things are going with her immediate family. Yeah, it's a stepmother, first off, and I made the joke, the whoops baby, but no, it's the we're married now, we're going to start our own family baby.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not a whoops baby. Toby's completely deliberate. So this is what's going on in 1986. Here is a teenage girl. Now, I always read her as 16. And I'll tell you why. Because her stepmother says, we wish you had plans on Friday nights. At your age, you should be dating.
Right, yeah, no, that's
He's old enough to
that's why
date.
I would assume a little bit older, too,
Yeah. 16, 17-ish.
But obviously, well, I would
But
aim
she's
for
not an
15 or
adult
16 because definitely still young enough to, be as foolhardy as she is. That's the other part of it. It's a story about accepting adulthood too.
Yes, it is. But here's why she acts so young. Because, okay, in 1986, dads don't get custody in divorce. It does not happen. Unless dads get custody through 2 vessels. One, the mother is institutionalized, or the mom is dead. Sarah's mom passed away within the last 5 years. Then there was a grieving period for her family, and her father moved on, married the stepmother, and they had Toby. Toby is blonde, stepmother is blonde. Everybody else in Sarah's family is a brunette, including her mother in the pictures. Sarah idolized her mother, who was an actor, so she grabbed onto those aspects of her mother's personality and tried to copy them to preserve her memory. She's in a state of arrested development, which is why she acts like such a brat. Because she's still mentally like 12. She's trying to hang on to this time in her life when her mom was alive, because she feels like if she gives into the new life that she has, it's somehow betraying her mother's memory. Her mirror in her room, the entire border is all pictures of her mom and playbills and stuff like that too. Her little journey where she's going through the labyrinth, and everything in the labyrinth is something in her room. It's a toy. All of those things are elements of her old life. But every friendly character that she runs into in the labyrinth, everybody that's on her side, wants her to get through the labyrinth. They all want her to get through this. So Bowie represents her fear of adulthood and her fear of sexuality, which, they touch on in the why isn't she dating? Because to acknowledge the budding sexuality of the teenage years is to grow up and is to betray her mother's memory and throw it away. In the end, that whole scene in the room where she's got her toys and stuff, and they're all saying, hey, if you ever need us, call on us again. What's she doing during that scene? Putting away her toys? Not actually. She's taking the pictures of her mom down off of her mirror. What's happening in the end of the movie is she's realizing that just because you move on, just because you finish grieving and move on with your life and grow, it doesn't mean that you have to throw these things that you loved so dearly away. They'll always be with you. And you can bring them back anytime you want.
I was going to say also it represents, the characters from the Labyrinth also kind of represent a pseudo coping mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Albeit probably through dementia.
Sarah may be a little crazy.
Dementia X.
Well, now if you go the route that her mom was institutionalized, that puts a whole other spin.
There
on
you
Sarah.
go. Maybe we nailed it.
So this is what I think happens in this movie. She is bratting it up and being crazy and being awful, which has sort of been working for her until now because she gets to live out this evil stepmother fairy tale. Supposed to take care of Toby. She says some really bad, rude shit to this baby. Dick move, Sarah. Come on,
Babies are dicks.
Baby. Well, he's a choleric baby. He cries a lot, but whatever. He's a baby.
These are dicks.
You know, yes, David Bowie's got a baby down his pants.
Oh God, there is a joke here that is so bad.
This is what
Oh my God.
This is what I think happens. She goes, I wish the goblins would take you away, shuts off the light, leaves the room. Now, she's in the hallway. And when she wakes up from the dream of the labyrinth, the journey of the labyrinth, she's in the exact spot in the hallway where she was when she heard Toby stop crying. I think that what happens is she says that rude shit, she turns out the light, Toby stops crying, because babies cry themselves to sleep, or whatever, and she suddenly has this picture in her, this flash in her brain where she goes, oh my God, what if something actually happened to Toby? And it's like, yeah, Toby represents that the family's moving on, and it's not fair, but that's the way it is. But she really loves her her baby brother. She really does. If anything happened to him, she would be absolutely crushed. And it's in that moment that she sort of has this epiphany that it's like, I have to move on.
Represented by an aneurysm fantasy.
Probably,
Yes.
because if the only flaw in my theory is she seriously stands in that one spot for 4 hours.
Like the blink of an eye.
Well, the clock says, I think 7 when they leave, and when
You know what? Crazy people don't know they're crazy.
True, but she starts to realize she's crazy in the junk scene, because the junk lady is all like, oh, look at all these things that you love so much. Oh, Charlie Bear. Oh,
Yeah.
And what's really great. I know, it's so scary.
All you need are things.
Yeah, there's nothing good out there. Everything you need is in here. What's really great about that scene is the junk lady starts piling things on her.
Yeah, turning her into a junk lady.
She turns it, that's so cool. That's so great.
That's where junk
I
ladies
know.
come
Yes, yes, and no, you're right, because it's just like Sarah will just be carrying all this fucking baggage around until she's this weird old lady.
I'm the trash man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. So that's my sort of deep dive into why Labyrinth is secretly a much deeper movie than people think it
I
is.
have never thought of it that way. I'm kind of blown away.
No, Colin, that just blew my
That's
mind.
dude, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I was so excited about tonight. I'm like, I'm about to turn your brain to shit. Ray Labyrinth. And the more I think about it, the more solid it is. There's only a couple things that I can't get, but I think that Todd may have solved it for me because I didn't notice that it's David Bowie in the pictures of her mom. I mean, we can only guess that David Bowie was another actor or something.
This first time around is the first time I ever caught that. And he looks like standard David Bowie with the short hair. Standard 1980s David Bowie.
Well, there's a model of the wizardy looking Jareth right next to her mirror too. So those
Right.
I
two
love
things.
that Jareth wants to name the baby Jareth.
Yeah, I think I'll name him me. By the way, my favorite Jareth line in the whole movie is it's so short and stupid, but I was watching YouTube videos of all the songs from Labyrinth today at work, and I wasn't even sorry. And my favorite line is just quiet. He yells quiet at the Muppet Goblins, and the way he says it is so funny. He's like, quiet. It's like I don't know. I think that's all I have for Labyrinth.
Okay.
I really, really love this movie, and I think that it's not just because of the movie. I think it is Henson love, like mad Henson love, which I have, and it broke my heart that he's gone. And like, I'm not gonna lie, internet, I have seriously shed tears over this. He was my hero.
Hard not to, yeah.
And the world is so lacking without him. I think I'll just close it there. But that is my review of Labyrinth.
Fair enough. Eric, is somebody who's never seen this film.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm.
Well, Eric, are you saying that you don't want to review it at all?
I mean, my thoughts on the movie are so negative that I don't want to talk. Like, I don't want to say them.
I think we need your negativity of the movie to properly counter the 20 minutes.
No, I'd like
that Colin spent jerking off Jim Henson.
Look, Colin has an emotional attachment to this movie.
I sure do.
Now let's get a perspective from someone who doesn't have an emotional attachment.
I won't
to
take
this
it
movie.
personally.
I think you should give it to us, Eric.
Give it to
us
us straight,
hard,
man.
Do it hard.
No lube. Let's go. Body is ready.
Well, I think the reason that people enjoy this movie now in 2015 is because they're looking back at it through like Coke bottle lensed rose-colored glasses.
You're a liar! I don't want to hear any more shit!
You hurt me in my heart!
Actually, on that note, I think we should, next time we do one of these movies, we should actually get like find a real 10-year-old. That sounds weird. But I'm saying we should find a kid and have the kid watch and review the movie
Alive
for
10-year-olds?
us.
They went extinct years ago.
I can drop a little something in here because I did make my 7-year-old watch this with me.
That doesn't count. It's your kid. You're going to coerce
and
it.
he had a lot of fun pointing out all the flaws.
The
He was like,
child
I
has
see
spoken."
strings, Dad. I can see the strings.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad, look. You can see the stitching on that one.
Dad, this CG sucks.
That was actually one thing that I forgot to mention. I will say, this movie is riddled with continuity errors, and it has the most visible boom mic in the history of visible boom mics ever in a movie, such that I was like, I had to rewind it and was like, is that a garden hose or something? What is that thing? Like,
Yeah.
Well, that's when you had disguised the boom mic as like a scary puppet monster.
they
Just
did
part
not.
of the scenery.
I thought you were talking about the boom mic and Bowie's
Whoa!
tail.
Ah.
Boom!
So,
Okay, so Eric, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to jump on you there. Go ahead.
Oh, that's about it. Like this, God.
let the floodgates open.
No, sounds like you really liked it.
If I am a minority of one, truth is still truth. Gandhi.
I don't
Wow.
think so.
Like, this is the vision of fantasy that somebody who had just been doing acid for 20 straight years has. Like, every inanimate object talks. Not, like, who cares? Why does the cannonball need to talk? Why do the walls need to talk? Why do the door knockers
Well, the
need to talk?
cannonball's actually a goblin stuffed inside a ball.
Yeah.
That's actually true.
I'm surprised you didn't know that.
I just really didn't like it at all.
All right, homie.
I just really, really, really didn't like this movie. That's probably all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
Actually, now I'll devil's advocate against myself here. About a year ago, I showed this to a girl I was dating, and as soon as it got to...
And that was the last date.
No, but we're coming up on that mark.
Sorry.
Nah, she was sweet. We're watching this movie. She's never seen it before, so she's sort of on the Eric team, and she's sitting patiently viewing the movie. It gets to Magic Dance, and she just goes, "This movie has taken a turn for the weird." And I'm like sitting there, and I sort of became conscious of like what this must really look like to somebody. And then she was like 24, so she's younger, me too, and like somebody who really has no attachment to this era whatsoever, considering she's only been alive since Jim Henson died. Yeah, so I was like, this must be really strange for you.
I really think the things, at least to me, the things that would make somebody love this movie are the things they're bringing along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Todd, you're just like, yes.
Like it's not the movie itself. Like and the funny thing is, like, people reamed against Mad Max for having to like it by the things that you brought along with it, and the potential that Mad Max brought into the world. But like, Mad Max isn't a great movie.
No.
And neither is Labyrinth. Like, the potential of what Jim Henson could have done doesn't make this good.
I beg to differ, Eric. I've got a movie I've been trying to make for like 5 years, and that movie is gonna be awesome someday, maybe because of potential.
Right, like the Dark Crystal, like this, and this whole type of like weird, psychedelic fantasy is really unappealing to me. It's just so weird, and like I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I kind of feel like when everything becomes like, a living object, that shit kind of creeps me out.
Like David Bowie.
It's very ruthless there.
David Bowie had Hoggle give Jennifer Connelly a peach so he could dance with her in her dreams.
If that's all it took, I would give Jennifer Connelly
I tried that move.
Yeah.
I would eat her peach.
Like, we're making jokes about David Bowie's dick, but like Jim Henson had a fixation on David Bowie's dick. It's not like there are scenes where he's talking to Hoggle and he's not like bending down to like get on Hoggle's level. He's got his fucking cock right in Hoggle's fucking face. And it's fucking weird. This is a fucking shithouse fucking movie. This is a terrible movie. This is genuinely maybe my least favorite movie I've ever fucking watched. And guess what? There was a shit pool in this fucking movie too. There's a fucking slump that's fucking
She's changing a
all
diaper.
over the place in this movie.
She is changing a diaper. She's changing
Shut up, Colin, with your bullshit justification.
She's changing a diaper.
Go, Eric, go.
Everything in the labyrinth exists in the real world. She's changing a diaper.
Who cares?
Colin,
Who cares?
Colin's operating on a level
No,
here.
man. It's funny. I'm delighted by your scathing review.
This movie made me like Star Wars less. Because Hoggle is Frank Oz, and now every time I see Yoda, I'm going to associate that with Labyrinth.
So Labyrinth
I'm serious.
ruined Yoda for you?
Eric.
I'm sorry.
Hoggle is played by Brian Henson.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's the
Yeah.
same sound and voice shit,
Frank
right?
Oz is Ludo.
It's the exact same voice Henson uses for the dog on Storyteller.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, and then so a lot of these effects made me think of like what's the little creature at Jabba's palace?
Salacious Crumb.
Like
Yes.
like
Yes,
That's a
yes, I
Muppet.
know the
I
name.
know it's a fucking
ladies.
Muppet. You said it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Are you sure? Because I didn't get that impression.
Like
I'm glad you got that out though.
I'm really glad that you defended Mad Max, and not in saying that it was a good movie, because I agree with you, it's not a great movie, but you defended that I'm allowed to like it, even though it's not a good.
No, you're right. and I thought about it after the fact. Once I watched the toe cutter video that we made, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I was unfair to Mad Max. Honestly, I really was. Like, there's no reason to hate on Mad Max. It's okay.
Except it's boring as
Well,
shit.
yeah, the first hour is boring.
that's about all I have to say.
Fair enough. Okay, so Todd.
So Colin,
Yes.
Chris reminds me of the Babe.
What babe?
The Babe with the power.
What power?
The power of the boohoo.
Oh no.
I saw some haters bitching hard as they could bitch. What could I do?
Song is never
They're
appropriate.
making wild claims that they don't like Labyrinth. That can't be true. What part of this left them confused? It's a Terry Jones screenplay, a Jim Henson movie with music by Bowie. And Bowie's got pants, magic pants, pants, magic pants. I put that magic spell on me. A junk, magic junk, junk, magic junk. I put that magic spell on me. Whip them haters, make them bleed.
Oh, yep.
That was delightful.
Okay,
Oh,
so I'm done picking on those guys though, because what I did, I thought a lot about this week because we went into this knowing, or at least I went into this knowing that those guys weren't going to like this movie,
Yeah, me too.
and I was getting geared up to go to war and fight to defend this movie, and then I kind of watched it and thought about it, and you know, it's not a great movie.
no.
That doesn't
That's the
change the
worst
fact.
moment when you realize you can't defend it. You can only defend. Fuck you. I like it.
Yeah,
Well,
and
yeah,
I
and,
still love this movie. That's the
But
thing.
yeah,
It
me
didn't
too.
change that at all.
Like Fire Gang scene, that is some bad, shitty green screen.
But I realized that it is maybe generational, or at least it requires that you come to it with the automatic love of everything Jim Henson touches. And I knew that's what I was bringing to this, and why I was loving this movie. Also, because I love David Bowie
Yep.
so
Yes,
much.
you do. Yes, you do.
So much. I mean, I'm not going to try to claim the title as the world's biggest David Bowie fan, but I think I'm the biggest David Bowie fan that anybody who knows me knows, if that makes sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
I
bring
mean,
that
you
to this
named
as
your
well.
WoW character Aladdin Sane.
This is true. So yeah, all that comes into play for this, and I realize that
Really?
because
You
watching
didn't
this,
name it David Bowie's Magic Wand?
well, it
This
wouldn't
movie
take
was
that.
a god awful small affair.
That didn't play as well when it was all one word. But you know, trying to
boy.
step outside myself and look at this movie. This isn't even Jim Henson's best movie.
No.
This is maybe I would put this above The Great Muppet Caper, and probably not put it above any other Henson movie.
This is a concept movie.
Yeah,
I'd put it above
and-
Dark Crystal.
you'd put it above. See, I like
Yeah,
Dark
but-
Crystal.
Dark
the
Crystal's
reason I
so fucking boring.
But the one thing that works with Dark Crystal that doesn't work here is that Dark Crystal is all puppets.
Yeah, but
And I think having
creepy
live
puppets.
humans on screen with the puppets made the puppets look more puppety.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think the Gelfling puppets were too weird. Like it was uncanny valley stuff. I mean, before CG, but
I guess I'd like to put out there that just so everybody understands, this actually goes a lot deeper than nostalgia, and I think that Colin touched on it quite a bit. But I think for a lot of people in my generation, Jim Henson is more than just a beloved celebrity or somebody that created a lot of children's shows that we watched. Jim Henson is kind of a father figure to a lot of us, and he instilled his own value system into everything that he did. And it always came across as sincere and not preachy, because Jim really believed all that shit and lived it.
yeah.
Not to get too heavy on that, but that's kind of why there's so much love for Jim Henson in my generation, because we grew up with him. He kind of created modern children's television, but where modern children's television, there's a lot of market research, there's a lot of child psychology that goes into it, and thinking about how to make it educational and hit on all these key points and this, that, and the other thing. Jim just did whatever felt right to him and accomplished a lot more with it than what they've been able to do since he died. And I think for a lot of us, we can't enjoy any Jim Henson project or any Henson Company project after his death in the same way, because every time Kermit opens his mouth and Jim Henson's voice doesn't come out of it, you have to think about the fact that Jim is dead.
You know, that's why I hate The Muppet Christmas Carol more than any other movie.
Yeah.
Because it was the first one after his death?
Yeah, all I can think about during that movie is that my hero is dead.
Right.
It kills me every time. And like a lot of the sort of more contemporary nerd culture lumps that in with all things cool that are Muppety. I can't even handle it.
But, I mean, so Absolutely 100%. That's why we love this movie. It's all got to do with that. And if you don't bring that to this movie, then yeah, it's not a very good movie. It drags a little bit. I have some issues with some of the pacing.
Or the fact that everything that happens is totally random.
Right. Yeah, but there's just that, I don't know, just that love of Jim is what sustains me through it, really. And that I think David Bowie's pretty fucking awesome in it. The 80s is not an artistic high point for Bowie's career. Even he openly admits this. But, for the kind of commercial crap that he was doing in the 80s, I actually think the Labyrinth soundtrack might be some of the best work he did in that decade.
Yeah, I owned it, and I listened to it compulsively.
As the World Falls Down is a good Bowie tune in any decade. I really think it is.
I really like the soundtrack to Labyrinth, and I don't know.
Bowie also delivers some great lines in this movie. Oh, I think one of my favorites, well, the whole scene at the end where Sarah is finally confronting him face to face is just priceless to me. Mm-hmm. But I love when he sets the clock forward on her. And she stomps her feet. And she says, "That's not fair." And Bowie says, "You say that so often. I wonder what your basis for comparison is."
That is my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, it's a great line. Because I realized that this movie is not very good. The one thing that is good about it that I don't think anyone can deny is that technically this is a hell of a piece of work that they put together. And whether or not they completely pulled off everything they attempted the shit out of it.
That's a very good way to put it.
They attempted the shit out of it.
They fearlessly made this movie.
I think that David Bowie's penis is getting blown out of proportion.
Oh my god.
It's not that big of a deal. But one thing that I did when sitting down to watch this movie again, I also watched the behind-the-scenes making of, which is on the DVD. Not on Netflix, but I watched it anyway.
Then you can't talk about it.
If you have any interest in practical effects or in seeing and how this kind of wizardry was created back in the day, any Jim Henson movie that was ever made, you can find a pretty in-depth documentary on how they did it. He was very good about always doing behind-the-scenes stuff. And there's a great one for this, and I watched it. So here come the fun facts.
Yay!
Yay! So Brian Froud did the designs for the creatures. The baby in this movie was played by Brian Froud's actual son, Toby. Toby grew up to be a special effects artist. He's worked with Weta. He worked on Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe and a couple other movies. In Dance Magic Dance, the baby sounds are David Bowie because they couldn't get the baby to cooperate. So Bowie makes all the baby sound effects.
Wow.
I kid you not.
Okay.
How did he learn to do such a good baby impression?
That's frightening.
Jareth's chamber, the throne room when we first see it, involves 52 puppeteers with 8 to 12 little people doing wire work and dancing.
God.
As I mentioned before, each member of the fire gang requires 2 to 3 puppeteers working in the dark.
Okay.
Hoggle requires 5 performers. They had a woman in the costume actually wearing the mask and wearing big fake mechanical hands because she had little person hands. And then they had the other 4 people were all working the face. There were 18 different motors to control his facial movements. The Escher room was amazing. Bowie's ball tricks that he does with the crystal balls, guys.
not Bowie's hands.
Yeah.
Right.
They were done by a juggler, but what's cool about that is they were done by a juggler hiding behind it and sticking his arm through. So that juggler was also doing those tricks completely blind.
Wow.
Neat.
Bluto was performed by
a juggler good should be able to do that blind.
I understood it took a lot of takes, though. Bluto was performed by a single
You mean
puppeteer.
it took a lot of balls?
A lot of balls. God. Bluto was performed by a single puppeteer. The costume weighed 75 pounds, so they actually had 2 guys who took turns performing it. One of my favorite parts is the shaft of hands, because I just think it's amazing the faces they make with the hands.
That was actually cool.
That was an actual 40-foot shaft
visually.
that they dropped her down with something like 100 different puppeteers wearing gloves.
I don't remember that scene.
The helping hands.
We're helping hands.
When she
She
goes to
chose
the
down.
door, yeah,
She chose
Oh,
down.
okay. Yeah.
The gate monster, you guys remember the giant robot that came out of the gate when it closed?
Yeah.
That was the largest puppet that they had ever made. It was 15 feet tall. It could actually walk, and it was controlled by one man operating it with hydraulics. So that guy got to play with a giant robot.
Oh, man.
So jealous. And then my final, well, actually, I'll get back to this one. I'm saving the best for last, so stick with me. I have a quote here from Jim Henson that I thought was funny. He said, "People say that you shouldn't work with puppets, animals, or babies. Well, of course we work with puppets all the time, and I had worked with animals a little, but this was my first time working with a baby. So now I understand why people say that." Apparently the baby was a really bad actor. My favorite fun fact, and I think you'll all appreciate this. Do you guys know who did the choreography on this movie?
No.
Bowie?
She is credited as Cheryl, but you know her better as Gates McFadden.
What?
Gates McFadden was the choreographer on Labyrinth.
Also known as Beverly Crusher,
You're
right?
right.
Dr. Beverly
Yeah.
Yep.
Crusher.
Your mother.
Kid you not.
That's
Wow.
curious.
Interesting.
I didn't actually notice that this movie had any choreography.
It's mostly the ball.
It was a
when-
lot of
when-
box step.
David Bowie pushed Toggle down with his dick.
He thumped him once or twice.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Okay.
I mean, I could try to defend this movie, but it's a bad movie. You either love Jim Henson or you don't like this movie. That's the way you're going to fall on this.
Yeah, you're right.
I disagree. I think I have found a third way, but we will get to that when I get to my portion. Right now, James, I believe you have a few choice words on this.
Choice? I don't know. Yeah, I think mine might be the shortest for once, but yeah, I watched it yesterday. When I was young, this movie was everywhere. Like in my childhood, this movie was ubiquitous. There is no getting away from it. Like pretty much.
I used to
You
chase
cannot
him
escape
down,
the Labyrinth.
hold his face up against the TV, and be like, "Watch this, you motherfucker!"
Well,
I know
yeah,
that's
you know,
true.
I don't know.
I'm sure that's
it
true.
Was, yeah. I remember watching it when I was a kid, and just like, I liked it for the most part, and it was just like there were certain parts always, just like any movie when you're a kid. At least for me, it was less about the movie as a whole, unless the movie was incredibly good, like Star Wars or something, and more about the scenes, like what scenes grabbed you and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, like Dumbo, which was one of my favorite movies, it was the pink elephants and stuff. And I guess I always kind of had, like, unlike Eric, the psychedelic stuff actually always really appealed to me. You know?
Yeah, no, I hated that stuff.
Yeah, and even now, like the weird, super weird psychedelic, weird for weirdness' sakes, always kind of, it's got its place in my heart, just weirdness.
You don't say.
Yeah. But surprisingly, I wasn't bored like Dark Crystal watching it. I watched this, I want to say, like 10 years ago, and then I was like, oh, I'll just watch it again to get a refresher, just in case, like I could probably fake a review, but whatever. And might as well get everything down. And yeah, I guess the only thing, few things I'll say is that I like David Bowie as an icon, as a pop star. I like him as a symbol, but I never really cared for his music. There's just a lot of things he gets wrong in. Yeah, most of the songs I actually don't really care for. They have almost all the problems that David Bowie had in the 80s. Like most of these songs, I feel like Dance Magic
Those
Dance.
songs were on drugs.
Yeah, in the 70s he was earning his cocaine, in the 80s he was taking it. Like, I swear to God. Like, but
Actually, I think it was pretty much.
Yeah, it was actually the other way around, sadly.
Maybe that was it. He was just like, I don't have the energy to write good music anymore.
It might be,
I can't do this without cocaine.
David Bowie in the 80s is a good metaphor for this movie. I realize it's not as good as it should be, but I love it anyway.
Exactly, yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like maybe the Jim Henson songwriters had a hand in Dance Magic Dance because it's catchy and actually has a good song structure and everything. And
Yeah, it is. It's also very Muppety.
yes, yeah, it's got that melodic hook to it
Yeah.
that a lot of the good Henson songs have. So when I was younger, like pretty much that, the Bog of Eternal Stench I really liked, and not so much the Escher scene, because even though I liked the visuals, I thought at that point it was kind of boring. It got boring for me again. I feel like maybe the end moral of the story is that if you don't want to grow up, you don't have to. Because she's like, I need you, and they're all back, and I'm like, wait, this is not how like these type of movie. If it was made now, they wouldn't fucking come back.
Yeah, it would be.
It's like,
no,
you got to deal with
you
reality
gotta
now, bitch.
on your own.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
inside you all
Well,
along.
no, what
Yeah.
they're saying
David
is
Bowie
that
was inside you all along.
her fantasies are kind of like Bowie's penis. They're a part of her. She can never completely hide it. She can just kind of tuck it to the side.
Wow. Wow. It's there whenever you need it.
Dance, magic dance.
So, yeah, I actually still found the Bog of Eternal Stench it made me chuckle even now. They do a good job with
you
those.
love a good fart joke.
Yeah, I personally do, and they did a good job with the sound effects in that because they didn't use any of those library farts. You know, I swear because that's the difference. When
made their own
they
fart
make fart
sounds.
jokes, you can tell when it's library farts and it's not funny. They make their own fart sounds. It makes the scene vastly better.
Definite that they're making their own fart noises, but I also
I want to make an
really
ad
shitty.
for the fart library.
Good fart pun.
Do you
So-
need a fart? Come on down to the fart library.
Crop dust the periodicals.
Oh, that's stupid.
Oh no, that's very stupid.
Bog of Eternal Stench to finish out my review because I'm all over the place and I'm kind of tired, and I figure it's a good way to wrap it up. When we were very young, me and John, very, very young, and we were both kind of obsessed with Labyrinth and various other movies. I had this little bear, this teddy bear, and in it was like a little, it was like the 80s, so it was a rudimentary electronic device that was pretty much equivalent to the Talkboy pen, where if you talk to it, you could set it different settings. You could talk to it, it would say what you just said right back to you, or it would say it back in bear speak, or what have you. And batteries ran out, I took out the box, and wanted to figure out how it works. I had this bear with a pocket in its back. My brother, for one summer day he was bored, decided he would make the Bog of Eternal Stench
No.
in a cup. I don't know what the hell he put in that cup. John, do you remember this at all?
I'm waiting for this to go horribly
Yay,
wrong.
that's a great story.
So I don't remember this
Yeah.
story, but I'm sure that's terrible.
Farts.
Probably
We didn't get along very well when we were young.
What?
No, but he made this Bog of Eternal Stench in the cup, and it smelled really fucking awful. I have no idea what the fuck he put.
2 girls.
Yeah.
Don, did you shit in a cup when you were a kid?
I did not shit in a cup.
Did you
I'm
shit
pretty
in
sure.
a Dixie cup?
I'm pretty sure that is not the case. I probably just used.
A bunch of whatever
Anyway,
he could
keep going.
find that smelled awful and mixed it together. And we were having some sort of argument, and in order to prove his point, he opened up the bear and poured the bog into the bear.
Oh, oh my!
hell?
Oh,
And it's
I was a bit of a dick.
it stunk like that for like 8 years.
You kept it?
I did. Because when you zipped out the pocket, it didn't smell.
gave me a stink bear.
But
Extremely fucked up, James.
yeah,
What?
I think
I was a terrible
What
brother.
point were you trying to prove?
I
have no idea.
If I pour this shit in your teddy bear, it's gonna smell real bad. Nuh-uh, I'll prove it.
And
Unless he was proved
then
wrong.
James was like, I'll keep
sure-
this bear for years. It doesn't stink.
But it secretly did.
Yeah.
Smelled it every night.
Oh, what a terrible story.
Yeah, I got
And what a
back
terrible person.
by like shoving several of his valuable comics underwater.
Oh, no.
I think he had the first Spider-Man issue with the first Venom appearance.
Oh my
James, I think
God.
you hate everybody, or you hurt all of us with that.
Ah.
I couldn't beat him up. It was the worst I could do.
God, you just beat us all up.
That's
If
all
I
right.
had,
I'm
okay,
sure
well now
deserved
I
it.
have
Oh my-
I have a new first stop if I get a time machine. And go back. I'll go back and beat up John for James so that he doesn't have to moisten
Just
perfectly
Then
good
he'll
comic
stop
books.
and be like, when he gets it, when you get that Spider-Man comic where Eddie Brock first dons on the Venom costume, don't put it underwater.
Yeah.
Actually, give that to
I'll
me. I'll keep it
I'll
for
be like,
safekeeping.
James, I'm not saying
Let
it's
me
a
hold
good
on to
comic.
memory.
I'm not even saying it's valuable just on principle.
Yeah, you never dunk a comic book. You never.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure I deserved it.
But did Spider-Man? That's the
No,
point.
Spider-Man did not.
You,
But that's why I collect She-Hulk.
The bear
You
of
collect
Venom
my
stench.
She-Hulk, you motherfucker.
Are we seriously arguing over She-Hulk?
Oh, wow. We almost did. Thank God you were here.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I'll just finish this up here, James. I'm assuming
Yeah.
you're done with your
Good-
story about how
good
I was
story,
such a
James.
terrible brother growing up.
Every
Still
time
true.
I watch
Pretty
this
much.
movie, that's what I think
Oh,
about.
wow.
For real.
I don't know. That's
It's the
okay. I'm
bear.
sure. I'm sure.
And it's not so much that I'm pissed off about the bear. I'm amazed that you made a bog of eternal stench and it actually worked for like 5 years.
I'm amazed you kept that bear.
I can't believe it. Wow.
No, that's okay. I mean, horrible, but okay. The only thing that I can really say here about this movie is that, for some reason, when I watched it this last and final time, because I'm never watching this film ever again.
Wow.
Yeah. Basically, I too am of the Jim Henson, oh my God, my feels. He was basically like an absentee father that I never really had generation. So, I mean, like, I definitely get where Todd and Colin are coming from. I mean, his death was, he was my John Lennon. Like, you know, for the older generation, when John Lennon got shot, that was a huge deal. When Jim Henson died, this was also a huge deal, and I was scarred by it. And for the very longest time, everything Jim Henson did was gold, and I couldn't get enough of it, and I couldn't say enough good things about it. I don't know if it's something that this pod has done to me. I don't know. I don't know if, there's been positive things that this pod has done to me. Like, for example, many, many, many years ago, I had to hide my love for the Fast and Furious franchise.
I love those movies too.
I do too. I no longer have to hide my love for that. I am okay. I have come to terms with the fact that those movies are fun as fuck. But another thing that might have possibly happened is that it might have stripped away a lot of my childhood nostalgia. Because we've constantly visited movies that I loved when I was a kid on this podcast that have turned out to be complete and utter crap.
This is what I was saying.
So I watched Labyrinth this time around, and
You loved it because it's great.
No,
The
I actually was bored to fucking tears, and not only was I bored to fucking tears, I was confused at what I was seeing because, like Eric, I too hate that psychedelic shit. I mean, I can't stand
fucked.
it so much that it actually kind of makes me physically ill. Like, I can't watch Wizards, that Ralph Botsky film. Like, I cannot watch that because it fucks my shit up.
I've never seen it.
Can we watch that?
My, I don't. There's a whole '70s crowd, or like Fritz the Cat, or any of that '70s underground nonsense. Real psychedelic, crappity crap stuff. And for the first time the first time ever, when I watched Labyrinth, I started getting that weird sinking feeling in my stomach. almost like somehow the Jim Henson had been plucked entirely out of this movie, and all I was seeing was this weird, like, psychedelic, no sense, I don't know, stuff. I mean, it was kind of cool, Colin, what you said about all that additional thing. I think you're actually spot on.
Thank you.
I really do, and that kind of threw me for a loop, and I think that really does kind of add something to the film. So if you are a big fan, you can go back and watch that film with Colin's revelation and maybe get deeper meaning out of it. But for me, I'm not going to revisit this film. I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again because it has basically overstayed its welcome.
It's aged like the bog of eternal stench.
Well, guess what? Guess what, fool? Jim Henson was telling you that it's okay to move on and set aside your childish
And we
things.
all
So you're
will.
doing
That's
it right.
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe I finally took the lesson of the movie to heart. Or maybe it's just a bad movie.
Yep, you were right, John. It's just a bad movie.
Yeah,
It's just a bad movie.
I think his Bog of Eternal Stench was perfect because once you get it on you as a kid, you can never get it off the rest of your life.
That being said, we're going to take a short break and we will be back with you.
It's time for a commercial. Penis, penis, penis.
Okay, that'll work.
You mean when we get back?
Oh, I like that.
Hi, this is James from John Hates Movies. You know, we have a lot of laughs here on this show, but today I'm here to discuss something very serious with you. There's an epidemic going around, a specter that haunts every household in America, an adversary so terrifying, many are afraid to speak its name. I'm speaking, of course, of Wiener flu. Wiener flu affects thousands of men between the ages of 12 and 80 every year in America and around the globe. Symptoms include itching, swelling during arousal, and periodic urination. In some cases of Wiener flu, a man's wang or entire wangular region may exhibit a strange odor. Victims of Wiener flu typically can be witnessed making adjustments to the ding-dong. If you witness a friend or coworker exhibiting this behavior, the best thing to do is draw attention to it by pointing and ideally proclaiming that you've witnessed the behavior. Using full names is encouraged. Awareness is our greatest weapon. If we all band together and do our part, we can defeat Wiener flu. For our fathers, our brothers, and that guy at work that's always messing with his honker.
Welcome back, everyone. It is now time for your favorite part of mine. It is time for the game!
Yay! Woo!
Is that
Whose phone
somebody's
is that?
phone? Should I answer that?
Go for it.
Hello? No. This is sequel Todd. Hang on. Guys, is there a Dimension X here? Or you're I see. Oh. No, they're calling from Dimension X. They want you to accept the charges.
Oh shit, it's the Yarp phone!
The Yarp phone's ringing?
Wait, Dimension X is calling us?
This has never happened before. There's a cream for that.
Give me that phone! You guys,
What?
there's an imminent threat invading from Dimension X.
This looks like a job.
I'll say it. This looks like a job for...
Beard Patrol!
Beard Patrol.
Good job, Todd.
Thank you.
To the beard poles! Quick, to the beard mobile! To the window! To the wall!
Stop it!
To the sweat
Stop
drips down
it!
my beard!
Oh no.
A great big thank you to our staff graphic artist, Tabby Walters, the Weekly Cast, and our listeners. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, the Stitcher app, through YouTube, or directly on our website. Feel free to send us a movie review suggestion. Every third episode is Listener Appreciation, where we choose from your suggestions. You can reach us through social media, either by liking our Facebook page, John Hates Movies YouTube channel, or following our Twitter at John Hates Movies. Our music was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can find this track and many more on his website, incompetech.com. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to hear someone say...
Sexy in your spandex pants and wig. You conjure magic while you do a little jig. Ladies and gentlemen, 80s music legend Stevie Nicks. Now you've got yourself a brand new child. The stroke of midnight you will make him wild. But quit swinging your pine.